Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to our weekly chat about all things National Hot Rods. Been good to receive your comments on social media. Keep the comments coming. If you're enjoying what we're doing here, then let us know. And if there's people you want us to talk to, then give us a shout and we'll see what we can do to sort that out. Joined, as always, by Garry Staines. Good to have you with us, Garry. Hello.
Yeah, hi Brian. Thank you for having us back. And like the man says, yeah, we're really enjoying everyone's comments. We have got I think the next 4 shows already lined up after this one. We've got an excellent show in a minute. Well, today, and Brian's going to introduce our guests. But yeah, it's really exciting. I think we're buzzing because racing's starting again soon. So we've got some fantastic guests, some really big ideas for the rest of the year as well. So I'll pass you back to Brian and he'll tell you a bit more about tonight's show.
So this week we're joined from a national hot rod driver from quite a few years ago, but nowadays he concentrates more as being part of a race winning team. He has a very famous brother, but we're not going to talk about that straight away. We are very, very pleased to welcome this week Mark Peck. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Good day, mate. Good day, Brian. Good day, Garry. Nice to see you.
So thank you very much for joining us. You've been in National Hot Rods for many years, one way or another. What exactly is your current role in National Hot Rods?
Say again, Brian, I lost you there.
I was saying that you've been in National Hot Rods for many years. What exactly is your current role in National Hot Rods?
National Hot Rods, I still, I own half a car with Gavin and still work with Gavin. Help to prepare and get the car ready and go to the meetings and just general help, as we always do as part of the team, and still thoroughly enjoy it.
I think really the truth is he's a frustrated driver, Brian. You know, when Gavin comes off the track, Mark always tells him exactly where he all went wrong.
No.
Well, so we know that you're involved with Gavin Murray, and before that, Danny Fisk, if I'm correct. Yep. And so it's Gavin that your attention is very much on at the moment. You must be over the moon with the progress that he's currently making in the National Hot Rods.
Yeah, no, it's been going good. We had a sort of a real bad patch there, which we all go through. And to me, that's the difference between being a driver who wants to succeed, because the run that Gavin's had there for the last 18 months, the damage and just whatever could go wrong's gone wrong. But fair play to Gavin. His head's been down, but he's got his chin up again, and we're all up and ready and roaring to go again. And hopefully we're going to turn the corner and have a bit of luck.
You said just before we went on air that you haven't actually seen the car or indeed Gavin for several months. So lockdown proving very frustrating for everybody.
Yeah, I know exactly what's happening on Coronation Street in Emmerdale, which anybody who know me would know that I wouldn't be sitting there watching that. But what else can you do? That's the problem.
Well, I've heard that Gavin's viewing habits are slightly a little bit more racy than that. That may be a little bit.
Well, yeah.
No, he's a great driver, Gavin, and before he raced with you, I think he sort of like caught on the podium in the World Championships.
Yep.
On his day, certainly one of the quickest, great in the wet, sort of known for his late charges in racing. But he's kept you busy fixing that car for a little while, I think.
Well, like I say, we've had a run of just everything, whatever, any little accident, anything, anywhere, we've just been caught in the middle of it, and that's just how it goes. And obviously, the ones who will succeed are the ones who can get through that. Are so easy to say, "No, I've had enough of this," and sell up and get out. But the ones who get through that to when the luck change again.
Oh, I think
and the fruits of all that come to it.
And your cars have always been, we're going to go back to when you was actually racing as well, but they've always been excellently turned out. And, you know, any of this damage that Gavin's had, it only ever comes out looking fantastic. There's never a bare panel or, you know, is this your thing or the team, or how does that work?
Well, yeah, that is obviously we're very lucky. I have been lucky all through the racing career, I've had some good sponsors, and in my eyes, whatever damage I had, that's only right to put it back and carry on showing their names at whatever late or however it is to make sure you get it back and look properly, because at the end of the day, without them, we don't go racing. So that's what we try and do. And obviously, if you've got pride, same as anything. If you want to be good at stuff, and you're going to have a lot of pride in it, so that's part of the maintenance and looking after it. And people want to work with you, then, don't they? If they can see that. So
a lot of the work on the car is done in a place that I've heard in folklore called the shed. Tell us a little bit about the shed.
The shed. Well, obviously, I started back racing again. I think it was about 2004, and Brian Carberry, a friend, well, he's a family, Uncle Brian. I started keeping the 2 litre hot rod of his in a container, and obviously used to put it in the workshop overnight, work on it, then obviously clear it all away, because obviously with the haulage business, that needed to be clear every day, and then get it all out again. So I thought, well, I've had enough of this. I want to build a shed in the back garden. So we cut the back out the garage door and put a RSJ across and double doors, and I built a shed with a ramp and everything in it. And obviously that was in the back garden then, so I could come home, work on it, leave everything as and where it was, next night carry on. So that's where the shed come from, and there was a lot of hours and a lot of work done in the shed. I'm still there, still sitting there, I'm still ready to go.
And the shed gets used now when the car's not at Gavin's.
Yeah. Between the two, however it works out best for it to be. Obviously, it's a little bit harder now, and some of the team who we used to help at the shed have obviously fell in love and had children, which that all happens. So they're not about so often. So just recently, it's been easier to be over at Gavin's. I've been going over to Gavin's, and we can get on there. So just work between the two.
So,
sorry, Brian. Go on.
All right, before Gavin was driving the car, its previous incumbent was Danny Fisk, if I'm correct. What made you, or what inspired you to put a car together for Danny Fisk? I mean, that the car was new for Danny, wasn't it? You hadn't driven it yourself, or it hadn't had a previous pilot.
What, the National or the 2 litre?
The National, sorry, yes, the National hot rod.
The National, obviously, we'd worked with Danny with the 2 litre. He'd won the Punch Championship, the English Championship, was quick. And obviously I got quite a good relationship with Carl, just up the road, Carl Bordley. He built the car to use for, was it 2012 Speed Weekend, our national championship?
That's it, yeah.
And he kept saying to me, you got to have this, you got to have this. And he kept, I said, nah, mate, that ain't gonna happen. And I sort of laughed and said to Derek, I said, well, mate, I reckon for the right money, we could have Danny in the national hot rod in the cup. No. So I said, I'll sell the 2 litre, and you match what I get for the 2 litre, and we'll have a national hot rod. And that all fell into place. And then we started obviously with the national with Danny. We bought off Carl.
And they were definitely entertaining years, because Danny was known as the Wild Man, which I think came from the 2 litre days. But he was a damn good racer, wasn't he? Very exciting.
Oh yeah. He just grab it with the horns and drive it. The hardest thing with Danny was trying to keep the wheels straight.
Did you ever keep the wheels straight?
We do all the work and get up there, and I'd say to Danny, right, when is your car the quickest, Danny? Well, yeah, the last 10 laps. I said, so we've done all that work to keep it straight, so why do the first corner? Do you want to bend all the wheels everywhere? Because you ain't going to be quicker for the last 10 laps with the front wheels sticking out and the back axle bent. But Danny just done what Danny went and done. Which, like I say, to be fair, sometimes that was breathtaking to watch, and other times you put your head in your hands and think, Danny, what you done now?
Yeah, he was definitely
good times.
Definitely the wild man, and being involved in stewarding with him as well was always a bit of fun. So, I mean, it's very sad that Danny disappeared off the scene. It felt quite suddenly, actually. Did he just move on to other things, other interests?
I think obviously with Derek getting older, he started to show more interest in the business, which is what Derek wanted. And he's fell in love. He's getting married, I think, next month.
Oh, really?
Obviously, there was meant to have been a big wedding, but obviously with COVID, there's only a few, and there's going to be a party sometime later in the year, hopefully. So yeah, he finished, move on to get that. So he's still young, and it's time for him to come back one day. He may well turn up again one day, but he just obviously reached. I think what a lot of people didn't know about Danny is Danny from about the age of 8 was every weekend away go-karting right the way through till he was 16 or 17, then 2 litres, then nationals. Never really had, what could you say, like, never had where he'd go out with his mates for the weekend and have beer, or because he's just constantly racing. So he was ready for a break, I think.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough.
He was definitely ready, but you could tell that, part of him really, I think he ended coming fourth, I think, if I remember rightly. And and he was knocking at the door, wasn't he? But you could tell there was other things in play.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Mark, when you we thought about having you on, our show is called Past, Present, and Future, and you really tick all of them boxes, and I know you're the same sort of young age as me and Brian, but I'm thinking back. There's a bit of a picture of you as a young lad. I think maybe sort of 6 or 7 years age, standing in front of a hot rod, looking all cute. Tell us that story, and I guess this is the beginning of your motorsport sort of story, isn't it?
Well, obviously I put it on my Facebook profile tonight. Is that the one you say? And that would have been like 69, 70, so I'd have been 4, 5.
Really?
A local hot rod driver, John Bright, he lost his sponsorship, and obviously my mum and dad and us as kids, I think I first went when I was 6 weeks old in a carry cot to Vauxhall. Obviously supported John Bright. He lost his sponsorship, so my father then set up a fan club where they'd organise bands and barbecues and dances to raise money to keep sponsoring him, to keep him racing. And obviously that picture, I was sat on top. I'd got my John Brighty wins orange jacket on and what have you, and I'm trying to get sponsors in to try and help and what have you. And then I got pictures of me with the car, and that was sort of, I could just about remember that, but I would say I used to go to Yarmouth quite a bit. I can remember Brian Randall. He was from the village where I was born and brought up there. I remember going around with Brian racing super stocks. And then some of the local boys went to the local tracks and raced bangers. So I used to help them. I used to go and watch at Swaffham. And then at 15, one of the Marina vans, what the dad had in the business, failed the MOT. So he said, "Hey, boy, you can have that." So I got it ready, and he towed me to Swaffham. And at 15, I sat at Swaffham in a Marina van with the bangers.
Brilliant.
And that's where it all started and went on from there, basically.
Do you remember how that first race went?
Shit myself. Just as I was getting the scrutineer said, "Well, they love vans here." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "They like to roll them over." I thought, "This is all I want to hear." But I did get through 2 heats, but then got smashed up in the final. But no, that was good.
The first time I became aware of Mark Peck and indeed Roger Peck, the Peck brothers, must have been around late 1988, I would think. I'm guessing that Swaffham is where you cut your teeth and moved up through the ranks, because you suddenly, with your brother, appeared on the national hot rod scene seemingly out of nowhere, and everybody was talking.
Yeah, well, obviously I had a few years in the bangers, and then a local fella, Scuddy, he'd built quite a few hot rods beforehand. I went and see him and said, "Come on, Scuddy, build me a race car." I think I was 18 then, and we built a Fiat, and I went and raced for BP Promotions, which was Mildenhall on a Friday night and Boston on a Sunday night. That was, they were called GT rods. That was like a stock rod. So I raced that for a year there, got to Red Top, thoroughly enjoyed it on the shale. I can remember going into the first corner and hitting the brakes and going straight, and I come out and said, "Scuddy, I won't go around the corner. Oh, I just can't get it around the corner." Went out in the next one, hit the brakes and went around like a top. We got two pairs of mole grips and put on the two front brake posts. I got no front brakes, just back. But once I got the hang of that, I was away then. We then built a Mark 1 Escort 1300. Borrowed a trailer. Was going to Cleethorpes for the first meeting of the year. The wheel bearing come off the trailer. The wheel come flying past us at the farm calf up in Lincolnshire on the A17. So we thought, well, we ain't going to make it to Cleethorpes. So we put the wheel back in the back of the van, and on the way back, Swaffham was on. So I went in with the hot rods at Swaffham with the 1300 and got, I think it was 3 4th places. I thought, right, we're going to have a hot rod now. So the 1300 engine come out, flared arches on, over to see Steve Skipmore, bought some old steel wheels and slick tyres, 1600 engine built, and then we started racing at Swaffham. And
It was
how it started there. And after,
very different era back then, wasn't it? Being able to just turn up and go, I think I'll have a go at Swaffham instead.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how it was. And I think it was within 2 or 3 years, we won the championship at Swaffham and then left there and started at Speedworth in, that was the night of the Hurricane at Aldershot, 1987.
Oh, really?
Rained all night.
That was the debut in the big league, as it were.
That was, yeah. I sat at Aldershot. They seeded me in as a red top because obviously I'd won the championship at Swaffham, and I paid money and all. But was still at that age, George Polly was my hero. And I looked in the mirror and I could see George Polly Motors in the mirror, and I thought, oh my God, what am I doing here? And that was superb. I think there weren't that many of us there that night. I think I was in the top 5 or 6 for all 3 of them. It was absolutely thrown at them in rain. And I can remember coming home on a Thursday night, the wind was picking us up in the slow lane of the M11 and was taking us across to the fast lane. And we got home about 2 o'clock, got to bed. I woke up at 6 to go to work, and we couldn't get out of the village for a week because obviously the hurricane come through.
Wow.
All the trees were down. So that was my first national hot rod meeting.
I remember the mess the Hurricane made of the back straight stand at Ipswich.
Yeah, that did, yeah.
So the George Polly influence, because if I remember rightly, your early car had a fair bit of purple on it, didn't it?
Purple and white, that's it.
Clearly George was the influence there. So I remember when both you and Roger turned up on the scene, and I think at the time the feeling was that you were certainly the quicker of the two. You had a Peugeot 205, and Roger had the Starlet. Is that correct?
The Barry Lee Starlet. Yeah, well, obviously I had a Pete Freestone's Starlet when I first joined. I think he'd qualified outside front row at the World the year before. Roger then had my old Mark II Escort, which was Peter Grimer's when he won the English or the British. Then Roger put me in the pit gate post with my Starlet. The day after I got married at Wiz Beach, the engine and gearbox, everything ripped off. That was the end of that one. So Mervyn built me another Starlet. I raced that for about a year. Then Mervyn borrowed it from the NHRPA, and he was in the middle of the famous crash where Nick Barrett rolled across the centre green.
Yeah.
So that ripped that one off. And then we had the Peugeot built. And Roger then bought the ex-Barry Lee Starlet.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended up moving the Peugeot, Roger with the Starlet.
I mean, the Starlet that Roger had transformed him overnight from somebody who was a bit of a menace into a championship contender, didn't it?
Well, that was, the car was some car, but Andre on the spanners obviously helped. Andre, who used to span it. That's it. Used to span off for Neil Facey, then Steve. And then obviously, then Roger, then obviously he went to help Steve Skipmore, didn't he?
Yeah. And it all came together really well for Roger, of course. But just before we get to that, I believe you moved into 1600 hot rods, was it, towards the end of the 80s?
Yeah, obviously the recession hit, the family business that went into administration. And I at the time I'd qualified for the World, but I knew in my head the Peugeot was not going to be worth as much money after the World. So I sold up in the May or June. Jeff Simpson bought the engine and Steve Burgess bought the Peugeot.
Mm,
the actual frame.
right.
And I then ordered a 1600 hot rod off Allen Dent, which was brilliant. Really good formula. Really enjoyed that.
Would it be fair to say that you probably suited 1600 hot rods more than you did nationals, because it felt like you really clicked in 1600s and were very much on the pace? Would you say that's about right?
I don't really know what happened really, because when I left Swaffham and I obviously started in the October, done the whole winter series at Wimbledon. Absolutely loved Wimbledon when it was half shale and half tarmac. Had so many good races, good results there. And then when I come to the big tracks, I really struggled at Ipswich, Hennesford, Wisbech. Absolutely loved Wisbech. I could be as quick as anybody at Wisbech. But with the 1600s, I all of a sudden clicked at the big tracks, which made a big difference altogether.
Why do you think that was?
Don't know.
Why?
Don't know. But then
Mm.
when I came back the second time, obviously to the 2 litres, I then clicked at Ipswich because, like, I can't remember what year it was. Danny was in London when he drove his car one practice night.
Yeah.
At Ipswich, and like I was as quick as what Danny could be, and it was so easy and so simple to drive. And I'm just thinking, why couldn't I have done this when I was racing 20 odd years? I just couldn't find it. I used to absolutely hate the wet. My wet settings was always a laugh. Put on the trailer, we're going to the bar, because I just did not like racing in the rain. And there was one particular night talking to George. I was right out in the first state. I thought, I don't know, I'm getting the hang of this racing in the wet. And first heat, I think I finished in the top 5 or 6.
Brilliant.
Went out in the second heat. I thought, this is all right. All of a sudden in the mirror, I could see George Polymount was coming in the mirror. And this is no word of a lie. As I went down the pitch straight past the start marshal, George was on the outside on me. I looked over, and he got one hand on the wheel. He got his glasses off, and he was cleaning them in his overalls. Put his glasses back on and went past me as I was standing still. And
That's amazing.
Back on the trailer. That's my wet settings. Put it back on the trailer. He was amazing in the wet, wasn't he, George?
Brilliant.
Superb.
I think it was about 2004 that you ended up back in 2 litres.
Yep.
And as you say, pretty competitive. And did you do much race winning in 2 litres?
Oh yeah, I had my fair share of wins. Had a bit of damage, few wins. And I don't really know what happened. I had my own business, then I was working hard. I went to Wimbledon one night. I've been to South Africa. That was superb. Raced at Wimbledon, won a heat, came off the track. Emma and the kids were there, and I said, "Put it on the trailer. I've had enough." And they said, "What are you on about? You just won a race." I said, "Yeah, but that didn't mean anything. So what is the point?" So anyway, came home. I want to sell it. Obviously, the kids were all upset and crying. And then obviously your next question is going to be, how did Diggy end up in the car? And that is how Diggy ended up in the car. I thought, I know a man who's going to want to drive this. And I rung Diggy up, and that's where that story started.
That was the next question. How did Diggy?
That was, I guess that was what was coming. Yeah. But for some reason, I don't know why, I just thought, no, I've had enough. I didn't even race the second heat or the final. Put on the trailer, I'd done.
Interesting.
Don't know why.
And do you feel as though the taste for racing, for being a racer, has gone away and went away then and has not come back? You've not been tempted to get behind the wheel and do it again?
No, I love having a practice. That was one thing with Danny, and Danny would tell you the same. We could go practicing, and I'd say, "Right, Danny, you happy? You are happy that is the best that car will go." Brakes are yeah. I said, "Right, so the brakes are 50 laps red hot, the tyres are shack." Yeah. And I could go out there within 5-6 laps and be quicker than him. And I'd come in and say, "Well, what's a 50-year-old man and drive a car? So why am I quicker than you?" Well, then he'd get back in it and go quicker than me. You say, fire him up straight away. But that's that. I don't know. That I'm happy with that. Just having a few laps practice, that'll do me.
And Malcolm Blackman also had a run in the car as well, if I remember.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, him and Diggy learned so much off both of them. They were good. Had some real good racing, some good times, a lot of good memories. Made a lot of good friends. That was really good. very good.
Whoever drove that car always seemed to be coming in with wins. And
Yeah.
who did you sell it to? Where did that car go to?
I went to Wayne Wolsey.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Wayne bought it. Yeah. Yeah,
So
Wayne bought it.
collection, eh?
Hey?
To the Wolsey collection.
That's it, yeah. The other went. Wayne didn't keep it that long, and then he sold it to Billy Bonner.
Right.
Billy
So
had it. Then that went to Fergal.
Yep.
Fergal bought it and completely rebuilt it. Then to Pat Casey. And now it's been completely refurbished again, and Chris Crane's got it.
It's amazing, isn't it? How long
Yeah,
they can
yeah.
last, you know.
So that's still there.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Been completely done, and Chris is out in it this year. So.
And so the car that Gavin's racing is the one that
Yeah.
Carl bought. So that's lasted also a long time.
Yeah, well, I think that one was originally Graham Luscombe's. What was in the
That's
show?
right. Yeah,
the
that's
white,
right.
the white and blue one. That's where it
Yeah.
originally came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like Trigger's broom. That's had it through front ends and back ends, but that's still the original car.
So when you see Danny or Diggy Smith or Malcolm Blackman, when you saw them driving your car, did it give you the same kind of buzz as when you were driving it yourself?
More.
Really?
Yeah, more. Definitely more. Yeah. The pleasure of like you said earlier about turning the car out so it's right, and obviously setting it up and working together and trying to make it better and quicker for them and getting the feedback. And no, that is the buzz. That's the bit now that I love. Yeah, I love that bit.
Well,
definitely.
We can't really have a conversation with Mark Peck without mentioning your brother, and it's probably you're like, oh, don't talk about him. We're not here to talk about him.
No, that's fine.
But of course, Roger, who came out in the ex-Barry Lee Starlet and took the world by storm for a period of time. And I remember, I mean, it was Peck mania going on for a while, and you must have been very proud seeing that happen and wondering how to get some yourself.
I was bawling my eyes out as the last turn. I can remember hanging because you used to be able to stand right by the pit gate then. And I can remember hanging over the ropes just because he was miles ahead, just telling him to go steady. And I could see he was getting wilder and wilder, and he was coming off the corners on opposite lock. And he just kept going past and kept giving me the number one. And it just calm down, just finish it, which he did, to be fair.
It was amazing. How did that Union Jack sort of like decide? How did he decide to make the Union Jack? How did that come about?
I know it took us about 2 weeks to paint it because we was in an old damp shed up at my dad's, and that was all coach paint. There weren't no posh 2-pack paint or anything then, or no ovens. So that was obviously do the white, wait for 3 or 4 days for that dry before you dare put any tape on it, then do the red, and then do that. It took forever to paint, but that came out superb, didn't it? That couldn't have been better for the day, really.
Yeah, no,
that was
superb. Amazing, and it was a real fairy tale because he started mid towards the back of the grid, I think, actually on that day, and everything came together.
I can't remember the one grid I can always remember with Roger was the semi-final when he blew up and poor George got hurt.
Remember that, can you? Yeah.
And ever since that day, I won't have anything to do with 13 because I think that was the 13th heat. He was 13th on the grid. He got 4-1-3, got 13 his number, and on the 13th lap, just as he went over the line, the engine blew.
I think somebody worked out it was 13 minutes past 7 as well, I think.
What's that? All right, yeah. Since then, I don't have anything to do with 13 after that. That was obviously, that all came to light that night. But a year later, that came good.
It was 91 that Roger won the world. I seem to remember it was the NHRPA Championship the year before where he really first started to show his true colours and his real talent.
Duffy on the line, didn't he? Was that the year he picked Duffy on the line?
That's the one. And we were I just had the terraces on their feet. So you must have gone into that 91 World Final kind of with very high expectations despite the low grid position.
Yeah. I think that started in the Anglia Cup the year before him and Duffy knocked 7 bells out of each other the whole race, didn't they? And Roger just picked him there, and because obviously Nick used to look after both of them, and Nick was winding it up, saying to Duffy, "What you doing? Let the young boy do this to you." So you can imagine the banter going on between the two of them. And I think Roger had written a few comments in some interviews about poor old Duffy. And then obviously the NHRPA to pick him on the line, that then wound it up even more. That got it going even more. And that was just something at Ipswich. The car just seemed, he found the outside line, which I think there's a lot of it, is obviously just finding that there's no turbos, there's nothing no different on the car. That's just finding that piece of the track where that car will work later on for you. And I just said to him on the line before the World Final, "Look, mate, you're a long way back, but if you can see the leader, literally physically see him at lap 50, there's no one going to stop you. Them last 25 laps, you're just going to eat him up." And to be fair, he just kept them in sight, and they all come to him. They slew up. He got quicker.
Yeah,
and that's what happened basically. And he sealed the deal. You still got to do it. You still got to finish it.
It's Does Roger still follow the racing now, or is he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, now and again he comes up. He's busy with his business. He's got MS, so he deals quite well with that. He gets on, and he comes up now and again and have a look. He helps me and Gavin out. He buys a few tyres every now and again. So yeah, he still keeps involved.
Brilliant.
Yeah, he's still involved, but he was never one to really go and watch racing. He was never one really wanted to work on his car. He just wanted to turn up, put his yellow suit on, and do his hair and get in the car and drive. That was, he'll tell you that himself.
Yeah, I think he was out on track a couple of years ago. I think in Lewis Hills. Was it Lewis Hills?
Yeah.
It was Starlet, and in the yellow suit, he still fit into it, which is impressive.
Yeah. But no, he's keeping well. He's good.
So over the years, obviously George was very much your favourite from back in the day. It'd be hard to choose a favourite now because, of course, that'd be Gavin. But what drivers that you respect out there at the moment? Is there any that you really fear? Obviously, Chris Head's going to probably come to mind, but
yeah, Chris. Yeah, he's just so consistent, isn't he, Chris? He's the one who I used to say to Danny, and me and Gavin still speak about. He just sit there and doesn't really look as though he's going anywhere or doing anything, but come them last 10 laps, he just comes through and he's there. And he very similar to Mark Paffy and the 2 litre hot rods when him and Diggy and Malcolm were having their set twos. We used to look like with Diggy and Malcolm, we'd be away and gone, but them last 5 laps, all of a sudden Paff was there. And yeah, he's very good. Obviously Glenn Bell, you can't knock what Glenn's doing, and John. No, there's someone at there, Shane. Shane's a bit harem and tarum, and he'll have a meeting where it all slots into place so fast, so quick, and then another time he just won't have the luck. But no, all of them, anyone who get out there and have a go, you can only admire them, can't you, really?
Yeah, it seems really competitive now, probably more than say when you was racing in the 80s, really, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely. There just seemed to be so much more respect when I started. And to be fair, I was one of them, because in my head, if you're starting, say, yellow top at Ipswich, and all of a sudden you got George and them around your bumper from starting a half a lap behind you, why try and hold them up? Let them go and try and learn. But today, that mentality seemed to be, well, I've spent as much as you ain't coming past. But that seemed to be how it is today.
I blame the stewarding, especially for a little while back, but
I blame the stewarding as well.
Blame the stewarding.
Yeah.
Now, of course,
that's no easy job. I tell you, that's no easy job. No.
Yeah, I don't get many Christmas cards. I'll put that to you. So the future with is it very much sticking with the Tigra, Gavin at the wheel?
Yep. We're going for it. We're all nearly ready, all virtually geared up to go. We're hoping for a good year. Hopefully we can get racing. I booked the hotels for Scotland. They announced that's going to be in May. So I've booked the hotels for National Weekend. I ain't seen even announced yet, but I've got them booked. I can cancel, but I've got them booked. Let's hope we're going to have a good year's racing, and fingers crossed we have a luck of a decent run.
Yeah.
That we do. Let's just hope so.
We've certainly all got our fingers crossed that we can get back racing sooner rather than later, and
nice.
we get some qualifiers and have a good world final, and we'll all feel a whole lot better, won't we?
Yeah, and get the crowd back, get the buzz back. That's what we need. Yeah, that was nice last year. We got 7 rounds in, but masks on, no crowd. Yeah, we was racing, but that weren't proper racing, if you know what I mean. Not what we're all used to anyway.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with National Hot Rods and Stock Cars. It is a show, isn't it? It's always been a show. You know?
It is, yeah, and the characters, and say I've been brought up with it. I've loved it all the way along. My kids have been brought up with it. They love it. So that is something. If you, I find it very hard over the years. You take friends, and I can totally see where they're coming from when you say, right, watch this race. And to be fair, the first race I looked at, they ain't got a clue what's going on, have they? You don't know who's in the lead, where they're coming.
Yeah.
And I try and explain to them that you need to come 2 or 3 times so you get to know, especially in the contact formulas, like obviously Dean and people like that, and Eddie Alders. Right, he had him out this week, so next week you got to look, because you know that he's gunning for him next week. Yeah. And then you start to enjoy it and get involved with it then, don't you? But to just turn up once, I can understand why people go away and think, what on earth happened there tonight? I didn't know what happened, didn't know who was there, but I can see that as well.
I think you summarised it that, you know, when you started, when you were so young, you know, as a 4 or 5 year old, and I think myself and Brian, the same sort of thing. Once it's in your blood at that age, you really stick with it, you know. So that is, that you can't stop. Once it's in you can't stop.
Yeah, brilliant.
I love it.
It's been an absolute joy to chat and to reminisce as well with you, Mark.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I've learned a lot, so that's been good. And good to get a bit of background as well, and to hear some of the inside story of what you get up to and what goes into it as well. So thank you.
No, that's good. Thank you, Brian. It'd be nice to see you in person again, mate. Hopefully we're all back at the track soon, and you, Gary.
Yeah, I think there's loads more stories to come from you, Mark. I know that, and I really enjoyed them. So hopefully we'll do it again later in the year. And
a lot of them can't be repeated on here, but there's a lot of stories over the years.
We'll do an X-rated show somewhere. But there you go.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant.
We'll see you soon, Mark. And enjoy the rest of Coronation Street and Emmerdale.
I will do. Yeah. Hopefully I'll forget all about that soon, and we'll be back racing.
Brilliant.
Thank you. We'll take care and see you at the track soon.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you, Gary. And thank you to everybody for joining us. We'll be back again soon, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye, Brian. Bye, Gary.
Bye.
Bye.